Hello and welcome back to Suck War Central. As always, I'm your host, CJ. We have a beefy chapter to get into this week, but before we do, I'd like to make a few notes about my voice and how I talk. If you don't care about that, just skip to the time on the screen so we can get started. So, I actually have two different voices that I use in my life, depending on how I feel. And this is my second one. I've mostly been using my first one because it seemed better for YouTube, but I thought I should at least give you guys like the option of hearing the second one. So just let me know in the comments if you actually prefer this one or if I should go back to talking like this. Either is fine by me. It's all about whichever one you guys prefer. Just let me know. And without further ado, let's get back into it. LEORIO! LEORIO! LEORIO is back, baby! Oh my god, I've been waiting for this. Listen, when I get insane about a character, they're like all I can think about, so we have to talk about LEORIO before we can talk about anything else. My friends watching this are probably like, oh, there she goes again. Yeah, I do this. I'm just so happy to see LEORIO again. You might think there's nothing to talk about given how he was in just like a few panels and had no lines, but not so, my friends. First of all, by providing care to Halkenberg's body, LEORIO has become directly involved in the Succession War, which I never thought would happen for like a long time. He is on the upper tiers. Do you realize what this means? We could be a handful of chapters away from a real, actual Kurapika and LEORIO team up. And I do think he has the motivation to get involved. First of all, the whole martial law threat is like something the Zodiacs really want to avoid. And second of all, doctors help people, and LEORIO has an extremely strong moral compass. I think if he figures out the nature of the Succession War and that Kurapika's involved in it, he absolutely will not sit idly by and just let it happen. Threats are closing in on Kurapika from like everywhere, and I think he kind of needs LEORIO's help for this. Also, Togashi has drawn LEORIO looking younger than usual, and like, he looks well, he's thriving, my boy is doing what he was meant to do, good for him, oh my god. I'm just so excited for LEORIO to do something. Did you know that despite being a protagonist from the very beginning, LEORIO hasn't had a single proper actual fisticuffs fight? I guess the closest he got was like the thing in Trick Tower, but you know, that's not a real fight. But I just know he's gonna pop off during the Suck War. I have faith in my husband. Okay, we'll move on already. Okay, so we have Kurapika's theory that the coins are basically meant to circulate and they'll accumulate nen in them as they do, which makes sense. But it's also kind of weird that the value seems to reset when the coins change ownership. It's like, are they really meant to be circulated or not? I get the feeling it's more like wealth to be sat upon and hoarded by specific individuals. Kurapika thinks to himself about pseudo-coercive manipulation. Just as a little refresher, that's when the manipulator takes over the victim's body or traps them in a situation where they have to obey the manipulator's commands. So to me, this suggests that when you try to exchange this coin for a reward, Zong's beast takes over your body for a bit, like Momose's beast did. Side note, the scans refer to him as Chorai, which is technically a correct pronunciation of his name, but Zhonglei is just cooler, and I'm just going to keep referring to him as Zhonglei for all time. So anyway, yeah, I personally believe Kurapika's theory because it fits Zong's personality. Everything is a quid pro quo with this guy, and this chapter really emphasizes it with like how he thinks about the exchange of Woble's safety for Nen expertise. So it just makes sense. If I have to guess, this theory is also why Kurapika didn't try using the mouth as a coin slot like I predicted he would, because if he's right about this, he would have gotten manipulated when he did that, and that's obviously a bad thing. I'm also wondering if this is what's going to happen to Benjamin's guard, Koventoba. Koventoba, I prefer Koventoba. Anyway, like, I think he's going to see someone loyal to Zong exchange the coin for a positive reward, and then he won't realize they're being manipulated because they'll just act the way they would normally. But then when Koventoba goes and tries to exploit this, I just said I prefer Koventoba. Yeah, when Koventoba goes and tries to exploit this, he's going to end up getting manipulated by the beast. I could see this because it's constantly being made clear that hunters like Kurapika have way more knowledge of Nen than Benjamin's soldiers. Koventoba might just not even consider it a possibility, and then bam, the beast gets his ass, and he's another victim of shady cryptocurrency. After all the Zong coin shenanigans, we have more martial law stuff, and martial law keeps getting brought up, and to be honest, I get a little, like, nervous every time it does. I think Togashi's doing that on purpose. He's trying to, like, build anxiety around it. So, Karapika theorizes that Benjamin is going to try and use it once the Mafia War gets out of control, and he thinks the Mafia War will get out of control if Zong, Terror Sandwich, or Loserus get assassinated, but, like, the fuse to destruction is already way shorter than he realizes, because Morena's already starting the Mafia War, so I think we're, like, one big incident away from martial law, and that could happen any chapter now. Also, I'm convinced that Hulk is going to possess Benjamin's body, and he's going to be the one to enact martial law. Speaking of Hulkenberg, a lot of stuff happened with him this chapter. So, first of all, he's letting his body die, just like I predicted. I would brag about that, but it seems like a lot of other people predicted it, so not going to do that. I guess it was just easy. So, anyway, it seems like that's going to start a timer to Balsamico taking control of the body back. So I believe that in the next 10 hours, which is, I believe, how much he said the sedative plan is going to buy him, he's going to take over Benjamin or maybe Camilla, but that's going to be more of a topic for my next video. I think definitely Benjamin's more likely. I also think I was really dead on when I said this symbolizes him killing his old self and becoming the thing he hates most, because we see Hulkenberg's determination to win the succession war again this chapter visualized as like a lone knight standing atop a pile of corpses, and with that kind of imagery, I can't help but feel he's going down a really corrupt path. We have to remember that Oito said the younger princes all looked at Hulk as like a beacon of hope to end the war peacefully, but I think Hulk's body dying represents the death of that dream. He's literally not that person anymore. He's become a soldier in the most literal sense after being a pacifist for so long. I think martial law is coming, and I think it's going to represent the start of Hulkenberg's reign of terror. I imagine he's going to have like a bunch of princes killed as soon as he enacts martial law, and it's going to be a nasty scene. It'll probably have the same vibes as like Uvo's Requiem or Genthru blowing up all the Greed Island players. Oh god, I'm scared because I love Hulkenberg and I was rooting for him to be a good guy so hard, but I just don't think he will be, and it's really sad. Anyway, we've also got more detail about like his ability. Honestly, I think this might only be relevant this one time because, like I said, I'm convinced that he's going to move to another prince's body for good after all this. We also don't have any confirmation about what's going to happen with his guardian spirit beast, but I have a feeling that we'll know soon. I don't think it's going to be gone. I think if it were gone, Hulk would stand absolutely no chance of surviving this, and sacrificing his body would have been a really bad idea. So I have to believe that it's a situation where it's like Tebeppa or Cacho's beast, where the guardian spirit beast just like hibernates until specific conditions have been met, but there is the chance that it might actually just be gone. If it's gone, then all Hulk has left is his arrow, probably, because it was given to him by the beast, but it seems like it's its own thing. And at that point, taking over Benjamin's body within the time limit is his only hope. That could also create a really interesting moral dilemma because it means he wouldn't have the beast to create his hive mind and guarantee the loyalty of Benjamin's soldiers. He would have to actually cultivate loyalty the old-fashioned way, and we know he knows how to do that because he's had supporters before he had the guardian spirit beast. But I guess what I'm trying to say is that in order to keep and command Benjamin's army, he might actually have to act like Benjamin, which is just one more step on that path of corruption I keep talking about. But we're getting a bit sidetracked. I think that would be really cool, but I honestly think it's more likely that his beast is just going to hibernate a bit until he gets into Benjamin's body. Jeez, okay, this has crossed over into more theory than like actual chapter review, but I can't help it. Nothing gets my mind working like Hunter x Hunter. Togashi is so good at making you think, making you really consider every possibility, and then surprising you anyway. But yeah, there's more chapter to review. So let's talk about Terror Sandwich for a bit. We've got more stuff about how he absolutely has that dog in him, he's good at aura, yada yada, and Salkov is freaking out about how strong he is, and yeah, it truly seems like there's nothing he can do. Terror Sandwich is almost a force of nature when it comes to Nen. I think part of his overwhelming power is mental. Like, Salkov is just on the verge of giving up just by watching him, even though he can be beaten. his ability does have weak points, but more on that in my next analysis video. One thing I will say is that Salkov doesn't seem to have ever had any interactions with Terra Sandwich's beast, and that makes me think that the fan consensus that it only targets women is probably correct. So because of that, Terra Sandwich also might not suspect a man of trying to kill him so easily, which gives Salkov an advantage, but I do not think Salkov has what it takes to bring him down regardless. Salkov is not him, and Theta is simply not her either. In my opinion, pretty much only Kurapika could beat him. If anyone can figure out Terra Sandwich's weaknesses, it's gotta be Kurapika. But yeah, Theta and Salkov have already kind of decided that they've lost, which is basically the same thing as losing, so I think it's so over for those two. So we also get little shots of the other princes in this chapter, and I think that's always cool. I was looking around and I couldn't find much of interest there, except in Fugues. We see Notkacho watching over her like in astral form or something, and that's actually really good for her. It seems like she can do all sorts of wonky stuff because she's a guardian spirit beast, but she can also talk to people, which is huge. Most of the beasts seem to be basically like animals acting on their own on instinct, so having one with the powers of a beast but the sentience of a human is amazing for strategic purposes, and it gives me just a little bit more hope that Foog can pull through this somehow. Anyway, moving on, we have the confirmation of the Nen classes resuming, with Prince Camilla's guard showing up. For those who don't remember, that's Sarahel, who's in charge of cursing Wobble, and she's there to do her thing and curse Wobble. She's also apparently going alone, which is really stupid in my opinion. Like, when two people are invited and only one goes, it's really obvious that something's up. Like Kurapika said, going alone shows intent to accomplish something specific, so it's like, yeah, obviously she's trying to assassinate someone. God, Camilla's whole faction is just full of morons. Also, her plan is to try and kill herself in front of Wobble, so going alone just makes that way more difficult for her to do. If she had another of Camilla's guards with her, Kurapika would have to watch out for them both and not know which one was going to try something, and having more people to watch just makes things more difficult to him. So really, Sarahel going alone is a super dumb decision from every possible strategic point of view, and Kurapika's already decided to be really careful with her, so yeah, I think she's stupid and won't really accomplish anything. What I do think might happen, though, is that Silent Majority will attack someone, and then Sarahel will try to take advantage of that to curse Wobble, but, you know, I trust Kurapika to handle the situation well. Sarahel is an idiot. She does not have that dog in her. She has no chance against Kurapika. Moving on, we've got this little bit where Benjamin tells Balsamico to let Hulk's final wishes be carried out. In Balsamico's body, Hulk thinks to himself, "Thank you, brother," and oh boy, Togashi's at it again. It's clear that it's normal for the princes to not really consider each other family. Like when Foog goes to deliver a letter to Luzurus, Luzurus is like, "Sorry about your sister." So by having Hulk think of Benjamin as a brother, Togashi is once again drawing an extra connection between the two characters, and it's just a subtle little detail I really appreciate. God, Hunter x Hunter is so cool because there's stuff like this everywhere, and every time you read the series, you get something new. I've said this in a couple comments. I have more video ideas than I have time to make them, and this is why. There's just so much to uncover and analyze in Hunter x Hunter, and that's why it's my favorite thing ever. Sorry, getting off track again. So last but not least, we have the Phantom Troop hearing about Hulk's death and discussing their plans. Nobunaga's basically telling the other spiders, like, hey, these Hail Lee guys are dangerous. I think we might have to go all out. And I think how the other spiders respond to this is really going to shape how the arc goes. Because if they do bring out the big guns, now, at the level that the Hail Lee are at, the Hail Lee do not stand a chance. They will be obliterated. But Finks and Phaeton are really not interested in the idea, and that makes me think the Hail Lee are going to survive just long enough to get out of control. Like, they're not gonna beat the spiders, no way, but they don't have to. They just have to survive long enough to spread contagion, and once they do, it's so over for everyone on the ship. The Hail Lee are going to get wiped out. That's like going to happen no matter what, but it's looking like they'll get wiped out after they ruin everything for everyone. Anyway, I have never been more hyped for a chapter than I am now because we're finally getting back to the Mafia stuff. It was nice to see my husband Leorio again, but I miss my wife too. Morena. I'm talking about Morena. I just did a video about how the spiders are going to deal with the Hail and I'm really excited to see how that pans out. Go give that a watch if you're interested. In the meantime, I've got another analysis cooking. This one's going to be about Hockenberg, Camilla, and Terror Sandwich, so look out for that on Wednesday or Thursday. That's about all I've got to say for today, so thank you folks for joining me, and I hope you have a wonderful day.